Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and we're coming to the end now of our Vampire Count faction focus with 2 more episodes to go, and this one is all about the legendary lords that were in the 8th edition army book. Now, we're not expecting these to be in Warhammer The Old World. They're here for the sake of completeness. However, it's always nice to look at what was in the book and see the vampires, and maybe we'll see some of those special rules come across to some special characters in Warhammer The Old World, if indeed we do get any. Hell, these guys might even be in as index or legendary rules anyway, so there's still the possibility of that given where vampire counts sit essentially on the outside of Warhammer The Old World. So first up, it's the legendary, yes, it's Vlad von Carstein. He was the first and greatest of the vampire counts of Sylvania, a master swordsman, a skilled general, and a great aptitude for the magical arts. He tainted the Sylvanian aristocracy and essentially created an undead kingdom in the heart of the empire. There are no records of him prior to the fateful night in Castle Drakenhof, and only his wife Isabella could calm his berserk rages without blood being spilt. He was not the first vampire to encounter the Empire, but he was the first to amass a large enough army to threaten its existence. He desired to create a realm of the undead and dominion over the living. If he had been successful, and with the might of the Empire behind him, he would have become one of the most powerful rulers in the world. So, a pretty key character, a legendary character in all of Warhammer The Old World. You can see here, these were his original miniature, so him and Isabella, absolutely classic. Almost Bram Stoker-ish style of Dracula, Vlad von Carstein. And you can see here his more modern miniature, where you've got this cool cloak with these kind of spirits in it, but a more bestial look than your kind of Bram Stoker-esque one. So he's kind of got this, more monsterish face. But that was the modern Vlad von Carstein miniature. How did he play, however? So, as you'd expect, he's got very high weapons skill initiative, attacks, and leadership there. A bit low on the strength, toughness, and wounds for what he was. He comes with heavy armour. He's got the Blood Drinker magic weapon, which is +1 strength, and the Hunger special rule now restores wounds on a 4+ instead of a 6+. That's pretty cool. And he's got the Carstein Ring, which is a 4+ ward save, and then the first time he dies, he returns on a 2+ with 1 wound. So this guy is pretty durable. He's a level 3 wizard, and he uses the Law of Vampires. So he's got your basic vampire special rules with Undead, Vampiric, and the Hunger, but he also has Beloved in Death, which is if Vlad and Isabella are in the same unit, they both gain Always Strikes First. Wow, that's pretty nice. And if one dies, the other gains Hatred and Frenzy, which means they're going to turn into an absolute monster. The other thing he comes with is he comes with 3 vampiric powers. Now, these are in the book that can be taken on your normal vampire lord if you pay the points, and that is Aura of Dark Majesty. So enemy units in 6 inches take -1 leadership. Beguile, which means models in base contact take a leadership test at -3, and if failed, they re-roll successful hits. So with Aura of Dark Majesty, that is going to be a -4. And they also get Supernatural Horror, which gives him the Terror special rule. Now, look, Vlad is cool lore-wise. However, like all legendary lords in the 8th edition, he's super expensive. He's 495 points. He's got no mount, which means he's stuck in a unit. And he really needs Isabella on top of that to get the most of his rules. Well, that's a massive points investment. He's pretty durable, right? He's 5+, 4++ in a unit. With his Carstein Ring and his Hunger rules. But his damage output, man, is he ever going to get 500 points of damage back? Not really. So very tough to do that. And to be honest, for a few points more, you could have a fully tooled up Lord riding a zombie dragon. And I know what I would choose in that regard. So Unfortunately, Vlad von Carstein, he just doesn't make the cut. He just doesn't do enough for the points cost, especially given that he really needs Isabella to get that the benefit of that beloved in death. You're paying points for the beloved in death rule, but it only works if you take Isabella. Well, that means he's not 495 points. He's 495 points plus Isabella's points. A bit of a shame. Next up, though, Count Manfred, another legendary character. So, while Vlad was the most physically powerful, Manfred was the most cunning. And instead of infighting with Conrad after Vlad was slain, Manfred travelled far and wide, seeking knowledge and necromantic lore. He travelled as far as Nehekhara and visited Lamia seeking knowledge from the Leash Priests. After studying books of Nagash, he returned to Sylvania and took control following Conrad's destruction. Manfred challenged the Empire as Vlad had done. However, his newfound powers were not enough, and his army was finally annihilated during the Battle of Hel Fen. Though rumours abound, Manfred actually survived. His body was never found, and he's biding his time and building his power to strike again, finally getting his revenge on the Empire. So you can see here, what you can see in the top here is that is Count Manfred on his steed. So that's him in his Lord form. And down below you can see him in his modern form as a Mortarch of Nagash. I think this would be pretty cool and still quite usable using Manfred on a mount. So we'll look at that when we look at his rules, but that would be, he looks pretty cool. I think this is quite a cool model and eminently usable. So Count Manfred here, very high movement, weapon skill, initiative, attacks, leadership, low strength, toughness and wounds. He comes with the Sword of Unholy Power. So for each unsaved wound, Manfred gains extra power and dispel dice. So basically, put him in combat, he becomes a more powerful caster. He has the Armour of Tempelhof, which is a 5+ save, and he gets +2 wounds. So he's not going to be the most durable. He's got no ward save here. He's got those extra 2 wounds, which can be nice because that mitigates one of the low stats. But 5+ armor save and no ward save. Okay. Maybe mount on a Barded Nightmare, Hellsteed, or Abyssal Terror. So that's cool. So you can actually mount him on something. And the new model would work really well as an Abyssal Terror. Level 4 Wizard with the Vampires and Death. He comes with the usual vampire rules. He's a Lore Master of Death and Vampires, and his vampiric powers are Dark Acolyte, which is +D3 to casting Invocation of Nehek. That's actually quite nice because that's a very, very well-used spell. Master of the Black Arts, so re-rolling 1d6 when determining winds of magic, and he also has Summon Creatures of the Night, which means he can use Invocation of Nehek to increase direwolves, fellbats, and bat swarms beyond their starting size, which is also quite nice. So what you can see here is Manfred essentially is a vampire lord stat line, but with huge amounts of casting ability, almost beyond that of a master necromancer. So of the 3 legendary lords, Manfred would actually be the best choice, and I actually did use him on occasion. So while expensive, he's 35 points more than Vlad. He's got the same stat line, but with an extra +2 wounds. Doesn't have the durability, but he's also an excellent caster, which would remove the need for the Master Necromancer, which is worth 200 points. So that kind of balance allows you to take other, vampires or white kings for that close combat ability. So, when using Manfred, however, I did keep him on foot. I put him in a unit of Graveguard. His mount options aren't the best. He doesn't have any ward saves, so he's vulnerable to being sniped and shot. So definitely would put him in a strong unit. But essentially, you've got a Vampire Lord and Master Necromancer all in one. And you think with all his abilities he gets within that's actually reasonably worthwhile. You think, the cost for Vampire Lord and Master Necromancer without any powers or magic items is not far off the cost of Manfred. So a reasonable choice and a good example of where a hybrid character does actually work, because he's good enough at both to justify his points and not have to be bolstered by others. And the final legendary lord for the vampire counts is Heinrich Kemmler, the Leashmaster. The vampire counts had so many characters that could be used, but they did only have 3 legendary lords. The 8th edition really cut down on those special characters. But you've got Heinrich Kemmler here. So Kemmler made it his life's work to escape his mortal limits, which drove him to necromancy. And by his 40th year, he could raise entire graveyards. After plundering every wizard's tower and temple he could find, his power grew until his ambitious rivals began to plot against him. United, Kemmler's foes succeeded in driving him to his knees at the Battle of 10,000 Skulls, and though he scattered his attackers, his mind and body were broken. After wandering around, Kemmler stumbled upon the tomb of Krell, a Chaos champion, and made a terrible pact with the gods, who restored his power, and he swore to destroy in their name. Kemmler's wanderings were unknowingly guided by Nagash in a plan to free Krell and unite him with the undead. And you can see the classic Kemmler miniature there with the kind of skin-stitched apron he has here, and his sort of skull staff, and his clear necromancer wizard hat that he has on top. So stats wise, typical caster, low stats except his leadership. He does come with the Chaos Tomb Blade, which is +2 attacks. Every model he slays is resurrected as a fallen skeleton or graveguard if he is in that unit. That's quite nice, though he's not the best in combat. Cloak of Mists and Shadows, however, means at the beginning of each turn he can choose to fly or he can choose to be ethereal. And he comes with the Skull Staff, and that basically means an opponent must declare all magic items that are within 12 inches of Kemmler, and he gains +1 to Dispel. He's a level 4 wizard, and he does use the Law of Vampires. You kind of think he'd use the Law of Shadow, but no, he uses the Law of Vampires. Special rules wise, he's a Law Master, and he comes with Master of the Dead. Now, this can be given to a normal Necromancer, which basically means Invocation of Nehet can increase skeleton warriors beyond their starting size. So at 200 points more than a Master Necromancer, Kemmler's magic items just don't make up for it. And a Necromancer can be given Master of the Dead for 20 points. So overall, I have Kemmler, but I just never used him outside of narrative battles because you just couldn't justify his points. I'd just rather, if I was going to take someone like Kemmler, I'd take a Master Necromancer and equip him with magic items of my choosing to fit what I want him to do. Here the Chaos Tomb Blade, nice enough, but to be honest, I'd rather have a Dispel Scroll and make him a really excellent caster. So that is Heinrich Kemmler. Bit of a shame. Again, some cool lore-wise, but just doesn't justify the points. To say that's pretty common for the legendary lords in 8th edition. That brings us to the end of the Legendary Lords. We've got one episode to go. That is the Legendary Heroes. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And as always, hit that subscribe button. It's free for you to do, and it means a huge amount for me. So thank you for that in advance. You've been watching The Ghost Hour. Tune back in for the last episode in our Vampire Counts faction focus, the Legendary Heroes.